Hi everyone, Sarah with Flux here. Thank you for joining me today in our training on the elements in Form Builder. This training is a basic overview of the elements that admins use to build forms on your Flux site. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type it into the questions section. We'll be dedicating the last 30 minutes for questions and answered, so we'll be saving all of your questions for them. If we do not get to your question in time, we'll be curating those and answering them offline in an extended Q&A. Let's get started. So in this Flux 101 Builder webinar, we'll be answering the following questions. What are the 7 elements you use in building a form? What are the differences between the 10 types of fields? What is the basic function of components? What is the purpose of a calculated field? How does the group element help me organize my forms? And how do I enhance my forms using text elements, spacers, and horizontal rules? As I mentioned earlier, there will be a Q&A after the overview. So this is the Flux Builder and the admin panel of your Flux site. There are 7 different types of elements that make up a form. They are component, field, group, spacer, image, text, and calculated field. While the functionality of some of these may seem obvious, we'll go through all of them using specific examples to help you with building. To start, let's go through each of them with a quick definition. Components are light pink and are pre-programmed collection of elements. These are hard-coded and can't be changed. Field, which is coded by light blue, allows you to pull in either core or dynamic values. Core fields are system-wide fields, while dynamic fields are specific to the site you're on. The next is group and is represented by green. These allow you to group elements by drag and drop and enhance your form's organization. Spacer, which is gray, allows you to add 1 to 10 blank lines of space within the form. Image, which is neon pink, allows you to add an image to the page. This can't be resized in the image component and must be edited using an external application. Text, which is yellow, allows you to enter titles, headings, a list view, directions, HTML, tables, or any other text content. Calculated fields, which are white, allow you to calculate 2 or more fields. You can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. A roll-up calculation allows you to calculate from one card to another. Fields and components have various applications and can themselves be divided into multiple categories. So let's go through some of those now. So what are the differences between the 10 types of fields currently used by the Flux UI? Let's look at this first by making a new field. Under kind, we select field, and in the field section, we select create new field. Then it's here in this type dropdown where we select the type of field we're going to be using. There are 10 different field types available in the Flux UI currently. So let's go through some of the characteristics of each of these. The first is the text field. It can contain up to 255 characters in single line format only. This type of field is useful when the response is only one phrase or sentence. If you want the response to be bigger, you should move to our next field type, which is called text area. You'll notice on this field type that there's a box you can check to allow rich text editing right here. You can either turn it on by checking or off by unchecking. So what's rich text editing? Your rich text editing box will show up like this component under text area here, and it'll allow the user to cut, copy, paste, select all. It also allows formatting like bold, italic, underline, strike through, superscript, and header tags. And it also allows you to align text or use numbered or bulleted lists. One caveat to rich text editing is that the text might not cut and paste exactly as you had it formatted in another application. So encourage your grantees to double check their work before submitting. You also have the option of adding a character limit to this field here. The next field type is a number field. You can select either max or min values, but not both. If you put in a max or min value, it forces validation, which means that the inputted value must be over or under that number, or else it generates an error message. From there, the user won't be able to proceed until the correct value is entered. If you want to have a numeric range instead of just a max or min value, you can check this box. You then input criteria such as the starting and ending value, and the steps in between each number, like 1 or 5. You can also choose how the component displays as either a drop-down or a radio button. Make sure you include context and instructions above your number range if you choose to have one. The next two field types are date and date time. Date allows you to choose a date from the calendar model. So when you hover over the component, a calendar pop-up will appear. Date time allows you to manually input the date. The next is Boolean. Boolean fields are displayed as either checkboxes or drop-downs. Checkboxes use true, false, or yes, no values for the answer. Drop-down uses true, false, or blank values as an answer. The next field type is select, and it's useful if you have 2 or more answers. You can add the additional answers by going here to the Values tab and clicking the green plus sign. You then input this information, click Create Model Attribute, and one is created. The next field type is amount. You can choose the format of these values as either decimal, percent, or currency, and also add a maximum or a minimum value, and a numeric range just as before. The next type are ad hoc questions. These allow staff members to add questions ad hoc and have them answered by another staff member or by the grantee. Who can answer these questions depends on permissions and is set in the Visibility tab. Here you can set which states this box will appear in, also who can see it, and who has read-only privileges. Tables are yet another type of field. They allow the admin user to specify how the table displays on the page and whether the table is editable in Detail View. In the Columns and Rows section, you can add labels, choose the type of data being entered, and also specify the amount of space you want each of the columns to take up. The initial table width box here will dictate how much of the card the table takes up, and the width boxes under the columns here will dictate how much of the table each column will occupy. If the column width boxes are left blank, they will be equally divided between the columns. The last field type we're going to talk about is model. A model field is typically used to provide drop-downs of names, usually by profile. The names are usually pulled from a user card or an organization card. This example is pulling from an organization card. Model fields are also used when you want to add an additional employee drop-down, but the role doesn't fall into program lead or secondary program lead. Or you want to add an additional grantee name, such as project manager. So now that we've gone through fields, let's move on to components. Components are collections of hard-coded elements that function as a group element. They can't be broken apart or used independently. Examples of common components are the organization component, which autofills with organization name, the document component, which uploads documents and allows the organization of these documents, and the selection of a document type. Reviewer component, which allows the assigning of the reviewer to a request and creates a review card. Fiscal org component, which allows the assigning of a fiscal org relationship for the primary organization. Funding source component, which allows the assigning of funds to a budget program and a spending year. The next element type we're going to go over is calculated fields. Here you can choose to either use a previously calculated field or create a new one from scratch. So you can either choose one of these pre-created fields or create your own. Calculated fields are typically used in two ways. One, as a simple way of calculating, such as adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, all of the values from an amount field within the same model. Roll-up calculations, which are the next type of calculation, use values or information from more than one model type. So your decision to use one or the other will depend on whether or not the information you want is on this model type or another model type. The next topic we're going to talk about is grouping. Groups are the green element that we talked about earlier. And it's a way of roping several elements into one. Grouping allows you to choose visibility settings for several elements at a time and makes use of some handy organizational components, such as a table of contents component, a collapsible component, and if-then logic for visibility on blocks of questions. Groups also allows you to set a character limit for a block of questions and also copy groups of elements between or within themes. You can copy this group by going down to Copy Element and choosing which of the themes you want to use in the dropdown. The last topic we're going to cover today is how to use text elements, spacers, and horizontal rules to enhance your form. Text can be used for directions and headers. Your text is displayed on the builder. You can edit it by clicking Edit Text and editing it in this pop-up. And then once it displays, it looks like this. Right here. It's best to have a separate header. Add spacers to visually open up and organize the page. You can choose the number of spacers by using this drop-down. You can also choose to have a horizontal rule, like this spacer does. Let's look at the difference on an example. So in text 2 is the horizontal rule, and above text 1 is also another spacer. Okay, so this concludes today's webinar. Let's go over what we talked about today again. So we talked about the 7 elements used in building, the differences between the 10 types of fields, the basic function of components, the purpose of a calculated field, how grouping elements helps organize forms, and how to enhance forms using text elements, spacers, and horizontal rules. So if there are any features I did not cover extensively, like how to set up custom filters for your forms, we'll be hosting trainings in the future to address these features. You may also learn about any of these features by visiting our knowledge base. This can be found at flux.io/knowledge. Please also feel free to contact us at Flux Support. If you're interested to learn more, you can go to the knowledge base at flux.io/knowledge. There you'll be able to find a list of upcoming webinars, links to register for future webinars, and recordings of past webinars under training webinars. Or feel free to ask us at support and we'd be happy to help you. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to host you again at our next meeting. Have a great day.